Alright, so people keep leaving comments on my channel and posting links everywhere to this Ethiopian woman talking about black woman, Asian men relationships. So of course people hear that combination and I'm the first person everybody thinks of, so I get sent that link 50 times over again. Enough! I got it. Thank you. There have been several black men who have taken this video and mirrored it, and they'll have a title like, "A Black Woman Tells the Truth About American Black Women." That really irritates me. And you know why? It's because if you listen to her video and you watch some of my videos, you'll hear that I said some of the same things she said. Here's the difference. I'm an American black woman and she's not. So since she doesn't have a horse in the fight, she's going to have a more harsh, insensitive tone and she's going to use more negatively connotated words. But that doesn't make what she's saying more true. I've said before, I don't know which video it was and I don't have time to look, but I've said that most black women are incompatible with non-black men. She speaks of a lack of long-term similar life goals. Now that's not an example of her speaking harshly, but the point is, we're saying the same thing. Alright, before I continue with this video, let me just say this. I'm an American black descendant of West African slaves. She's Ethiopian. Science or society or whatever puts us both under the umbrella of quote-unquote black. But we are not the same. Me and her have two totally different genetic makeups. It's just like Indian people from India are considered Asian, as are Japanese people. But obviously those two groups are not the same even though they both fall under the umbrella of Asian. In a video response to a black British woman who was talking about interracial relationships, I talked about how some British blacks and some African blacks like to take on this superior tone when talking about African Americans. But the funny thing is, a lot of times they'll call us out for something that they do themselves. They just think we don't know about it. So anyway, a lot of black American men are dancing all around this Ethiopian chick. Oh, finally a black woman tells the truth. And they treat her like some courageous beacon of light. Oh, if other black women would just realize what she's saying. Alright, she might be telling the truth in some regard, but she's not courageous. All she's trying to do is show that she's better than American women and that she's different. It's the same thing when British blacks say, oh, you got babies' mamas and babies' daddies, and you're on welfare and there's a lot of crime. They are not being courageous. They are talking about a group they are not a part of. They're talking about a group that they may even have a little bit of a bug up their ass about. So of course they're going to sit around and point out all the bad stuff. They don't like black Americans, for whatever reason. And can't you see that she doesn't? All she did was rat off a bunch of stereotypes. And what you black American men who are rallying around her don't get is that if she doesn't like American black women, she doesn't like you either. She just so happened to be talking about black women in this video. This is kind of like the situation with that white lady who slapped and cussed out that UPS guy or whatever company he was working for. And some black men were taking that little snippet where she said that black women are being used against black men. And they're like, see, even white women know this. But what your dumbasses didn't get, and yes, dumbasses. In that very moment, that woman was actually treating that man like an idiot. She thought she could throw out some little line of fake concern, or pretend like she was sympathizing with him, just so he would give her back the paper she signed. Her motive for saying that had nothing to do with understanding him or sympathizing with black men. What she said was self-serving. She wanted him to give her back that piece of paper she signed. That is the only reason she said that. Likewise, this Ethiopian woman's video is self-serving. She's not telling the truth because the truth needs to be told. She's not doing it to help anybody. She's doing it to say, I'm better than you. And if she thinks she's better than American black women, black men, she thinks she's better than you too. Stop grabbing onto these outsiders like they're doing something noble. And yes, she's an outsider. And that's not me kicking her out, she put herself out. She makes no bones about the fact that she does not consider herself to be one of us. There are a couple of things she said in her video that are just straight up insensitive. Now in her defense, she may have had a lot of negative experience with American blacks. Actually, my guy is friends with a lot of African blacks. And they tell him numerous stories about how they're treated by American blacks and how American blacks, even if they don't treat them bad, they'll make these stupid comments like, oh, why'd you come over to America? Because you don't have any food? You don't have a house? So I understand if she doesn't really care for American black people. But you guys, and I'm talking to American blacks, you need to take that into account when you listen to her videos. She's talking about a group of people that she doesn't really care for. Now, she may have some African American friends, but in general, she doesn't care for the group. And I'm not saying she should or shouldn't. Alright, let's get back to her video. Her next point in her video talks about black women being desperate. Now here's what we get into the difference between what I'm saying and what she's saying is just the tone. I made a video called "You Say Black Women Are Desperate, and the Problem Is." In that video, I talked about how black women in general don't have as many options as women of other races, and I'm speaking about their dating pool. Also, I said in a different video, I think it was one of the video responses I made where I was talking about how some young black men are arrogant. I said that a lot of times when black women do get non-black men, they do flaunt it. And that's because everybody, including major news networks, is always talking about how black women can't find anybody, or how nobody wants them but black men. I said all of that. All of it. But because I didn't use the word bitches and garbage, I'm not really telling the truth. Because I won't say that the problems in the black community are all the black woman's fault, I'm deflecting. Just because I won't say that black women are responsible for the spike in interracial dating for black men, I'm sugarcoating shit. Every time one of these videos surfaces, some black woman telling it like it is, I'll listen to the video and I said the same thing in one of my other videos. The only difference is either that black woman was harsh or she blamed it all on black women. Harshness does not equal truth, and black women are not responsible for everything. But since that's my stance, I'm on bullshit, right? I'm giving black women a pass. Maybe I just know that women don't respond well to certain tones. Maybe you as a black man or another black woman don't give a shit. If that's the case, then your video is self-serving. If you're not concerned about delivering the message in a way that won't offend the receiver, then your video is self-serving. There's some other reason you're making that video other than to help, so stop saying that you're trying to help. People are not going to listen to you if you're calling them bitches and saying insensitive things. But anyway, let's get back to this black women are desperate thing. She says American black women are the most desperate women on the planet. She uses the example of it only takes one Asian man to say, "Oh, I love black women," or "Black women are beautiful," and black women go crazy. I believe she's talking about Tenchi JK. He made this video talking about how he sympathized with black women because we live in a society where we're the opposite of what the beauty standard is, and he had this cheesy ass sentimental music playing in the background. I found the video be kind of condescending, even though he meant well. Wait, no, condescending, wrong word, I meant patronizing. But anyway, yes, she is correct. He made that video, and then basically overnight, his number of subscribers shot up because of black women. Touché. Now let's talk about desperate African women. There are numerous websites that are just like the mail order brides for Asian women and Russian women and yada yada yada, that are filled with African women who are not looking for African men, not even looking for black men. They are looking for white Westerners. And included on these sites are Ethiopian women. Furthermore, I have a white male friend over in Africa right now, and he has a preference for black women. Over here he was striking out left and right with black women. Number one, he's short, about 5'5", and he's not the best looking guy. But when he got over there, he didn't have a problem. I can't say which country he went to because he might hear this video and then he'll know I'm talking about him, but it wasn't Ethiopia. Let's send any white man over to Somalia, or Ethiopia I mean, or any Asian man who comes from a first world country and see aren't the Ethiopian chicks all over his jock. Dudes that strike out over here can go over there and do just fine. And a lot of men who do go on those websites looking for wives, they're old men, not older, they are old. They can no longer attract women of their own race in their own country, so they go outside the country and they can get a hot young piece of ass like you. Now you know damn well if those African women on those sites had an abundance of other options, there's no way they would choose some old white geezer to marry. One thing about American black women, if they can't find the type of man they want, even if the type of man they want isn't necessarily a good thing, if they can't find that, they'd rather stay single. They might have sex with somebody they ain't interested in all that deep, but they ain't fixing to marry nobody or have a relationship with them. Now I know there were a lot of black women raving about Tenchi JK when he made that video, but the truth is, most American black women are not even attracted to Asian men. The way that black women stereotypically think of Asian men is not an attractive picture. It's a stuffy man in a suit that doesn't know how to have fun, doesn't have any muscles, is short, stuff like that. I bet that if you went up to the majority of black American women and said you were going to set them up on a blind date and said that the guy was Asian, they wouldn't be interested. Yes, there are some American black women out there who will go for anything that's not black, but that doesn't change the fact that the majority of American black women are not interested in Asian men. Also, when it comes to white men, most black women aren't going to go for anything white. If you dorky and short and lame, most American black women ain't going to go for that. But I bet men like that could go over to Ethiopia and be fighting them off with a stick. Why? Because a lot of Ethiopian women are desperate to get out of that country. A lot of you guys will jump on anything and everything that'll get you a ticket to the West. Now I know that just like there are websites with African women on there looking for white men, there are also African American women on websites looking for white men or non-black men. But the point is, she wants to talk about how desperate American black women are, but won't talk about the desperate things her own country women do. She ain't even being real. I thought she was supposed to be telling the truth and telling it like it is. She ain't telling it like it is. Like I said, this is a self-serving video. Then she talks about American black women who actually are married to Asian men and how they come on YouTube and say, look, I'm married to an Asian man, you can be too. First of all, that's the Ethiopian calling the African American black. Now, she didn't necessarily make a how-to video, but she did tell a story about how she was out in some store with her husband, and some chick made a comment about, oh, I didn't know you two were together. Then she gives the advice or the warning that, well, if you're going to be with an Asian man, you need to be prepared to be the center of attention, and you need to be strong enough to handle that. Anyway, back to this chick's video. She's talking about how American black women like to make videos about their relationship with Asian men. Well, as of today, which is January 30th, 2011, this woman has a total of 7 videos. 3 of them are about AMBW. 2 of them have that in the title. So far, it looks like she's the one who's obsessed with AMBW. Almost half of her videos are about it. I have 0 videos about AMBW, and I have 125 videos. I only bring up my guy when he's relevant, and I rarely talk about his race. I didn't even bring him up first. Stylistic asked me a direct question and I answered it. That's the only way you know that I'm married to an Asian guy. Alright, next point, this woman says that American black women have no idea how the world sees American black women. Well, being that most of the world has no contact with American black women, then you must be talking about the image that's projected in the media. Do you have any idea how the world sees Ethiopia? Yeah, anorexic children with huge bellies and huge heads. We see infomercials late at night about your country. That's a place to send charity dollars. That's not a place to go if you want to go on vacation. That's what the media tells us about Ethiopia. Likewise, the media oftentimes refuse to show black people in America in anything but a negative light. Now, of course, there are black people who meet those stereotypes, but in most cases, most don't. There are only a few stereotypes of American black people that most black people fit. But anyway, I have friends in other countries, namely Canada and over in the UK, who are always telling me how biased the American media are, especially when speaking about Israel and the Middle East. But anyway, black American women are poorly represented in the media, and that's if we even get included at all, because a lot of times we're represented by somebody who's only half black. But even if you look at a show like The View, they call themselves putting women of all races on there, which they did. Well, they ain't never had a non-black, non-white Latina, but anyway. They had an Asian woman, Lisa Ling. She was nice and slim and attractive. Then they got the young white blonde chick who's slim and attractive. Then they have Joy Behar, who is not young, and she's just a regular looking white woman. I wouldn't say she was ugly, I wouldn't say she was pretty. She's just your average middle-aged white woman. They do have her on there, but then they have it balanced out with the young chick. Now let's look at the black woman they had on there. They had Star Jones on there, and she was huge. Once she slimmed off, they kicked her off the show. They replaced her with Sherry Shepherd, another fat chick, and then later they put Whoopi Goldberg on. She dresses like a bull dyke. There's nothing attractive about her. And also on TV shows, they'll have a black woman with a bad attitude, but they'll portray this woman as strong, which means they're portraying the attitude as a good thing, which encourages more women to have that attitude. This tells young black women and black girls that this is the attitude you need to have, otherwise you're weak. Somebody's going to take advantage of you. So you better let everybody know that you don't take no shit. And I know some people are saying, no, they learned that attitude from their mothers and their aunties and their cousins. Listen, I used to work in the media. I used to make commercials. Everything in a commercial is planned out, from the color of the shoelaces to the color of the paint on the wall. Nothing is by chance. They put those negative images of black women in the media to encourage black women to act that way. It's the same way they keep putting certain black guys on TV to encourage young black guys to act like thugs. Anyway, the point is, this woman should know how the media distorts things. So if the world has a certain image of American black women, even though the majority of the world has never met one, then they got their information from the media, and the media says your country is the land of starving babies. And if we just skip our cup of coffee in the morning, we can help give your children a better life. Alright, then you say that most Asian Americans have a bad perception of black Americans. This is probably true because a lot of times they set up businesses in low-income black neighborhoods. So they're dealing with our poorest, lowest class of black people, and many of them weren't raised properly. But even with that, many Asian people's perception of black people is already tainted before they get over here because of the media. Then she goes on to say that the majority of American black women, more than 50%, are damaged women because they come from single-parent homes or they were raised by grandparents. I made a video called something like "What You Gonna Do For Me?" in which I talked about black women having a general distrust of men based on their past experiences, or the way they were raised. Then she says that most people, or I think she says non-black people, equate being with a black woman with failure. I am not aware of any such saying. I've heard sayings about people getting with black women or American black women because they want to fuck, or over some fetish bullshit, or just because they want to try it out, but equating that with failure, I've never heard that. You know why? Because it's not true. Most non-black men who get with black women is by choice, not because they couldn't get something else. White men or non-black men do not think like, well, if I can't get a white woman or a woman of my race, I'm gonna go get a black woman. That's how women think. Now, I have heard non-black men say that if a woman of their race gets with a black man, they don't want her back, or that she's a failure. That's what the whole Amway boot camp video was about. But since when non-black men do get a black woman, they usually don't get a trashy one, I don't see where you're getting that saying from. Show me one person that says that about a non-black man who has a black woman. Then she goes on to say that most non-black people look at black Americans and see failure. And she says it's been 40 years since the civil rights movement and we're in a quote-unquote worser situation than we were then. Well, see, there it is. I told you she was talking about all American black people. Did y'all black men hear that part? And she says this like Ethiopia is leading the world in anything. And how long have y'all been over there? When is Ethiopia going to become a superpower? Matter of fact, why are you even over here? Now, you may say that you were born over here, but your parents weren't. Why'd they leave Ethiopia? She wants to talk about the state that American black people are in today, but doesn't want to talk about all the things that went on behind the scenes to sabotage us. She said there's no excuse to be at the bottom. Oh, okay. Why are you over here again? Why did you leave heaven to come over here? Now, don't get me wrong. Black people's problems are our problems. They are our responsibility because nobody else is going to take responsibility for them. That said, this woman of all people should know that black people around the world who are in not so great positions had help getting there. Outside help. And if you don't acknowledge that, then you're saying there's something inherently wrong with black people. Then she talks about there's some black women on YouTube who want to be Asian because they say hello in Korean and they're obsessed with the music and the culture. Well, I've already covered this. I showed plenty of Asian women who were copying black women. Do I even need to put that Korean rapper back up? He was copying African Americans so hard he felt comfortable using the N-word. And just refer back to my video about acting black and acting white if you want to see all the Asian women copying black culture. Black American culture. See, this chick says later on in her video that nobody aspires to be a black American. I can't tell. And you say that as if anybody is aspiring to be Ethiopian. I bet I could even find some Ethiopians copying black American culture. Oh, yep, here you go. Like she said, they have their own culture and they don't need to imitate anybody else. Now, would you like to produce any photos of African Americans copying Ethiopians? Oh no, I'll wait. Then she says something that just really, oh my God. She said she has no interest in Asian culture. So she's married to an Asian guy but has no interest in the culture that he comes from. She has no interest in the culture that her children will be half of. And she says this like it's a good thing. Now, I understand that some people can be too overly obsessed with another culture to where it's like a fetish thing or something. But to have no interest at all? The reason she gives for not having any interest at all in her husband's culture is because she has her own culture. She knows what country she comes from, and she knows her own language. Now that's just a low blow, as if African Americans are responsible for losing their culture. She knows darn well that African language and culture was beaten out of our ancestors. They were not allowed to carry on conversations in their native tongue. Well, you know what? Most white Americans don't speak the language from where their ancestors came from. And it wasn't beaten out of them, but you're not calling them out for it. Also, a lot of them, once their ancestors got over here, Irish mixed with German, mixed with French, mixed with Spanish, mixed with Italian. A lot of them can't even name all their parts. And most of their ancestors came long after ours did. Next of all, I know what country I come from, and I know my native language. I'm American. On the sly, this chick is calling us out for not knowing what country we come from, not knowing our native language. But then in a different video, she contradicts herself. She says in a different video that African Americans are not African, they're Black American. If we're Black Americans, then we know our language and we know where we come from. You can't say we're not African one minute and then say we don't know what country we come from and that we don't know our native language. Yeah, that makes sense. But anyway, back to her point, I see more Black American women clinging on to African culture than anything else. But she's calling out a few Black women who copy Asian culture like that's the norm. Then she talks about American Black women going over to places like Japan to teach English, but they're really over there to find a man. Again, what percentage of Black women are we talking about here? Again, she brings up these exceptions like it's the norm. Then she talks about how she did another video about why AMBW relationships are so rare. And then she starts talking about the quality of Black American women. No doubt that that may play a role, but that is secondary. The truth is that Asian people are not interested in mixing with Black people regardless. There are plenty of Asian people, specifically Chinese people, over in Africa, including South Africa, and they have been over there for many generations and they still are not bred out. So if it's all about these repulsive American Black women, then why aren't Chinese men over in Africa marrying Black women in high numbers? Then she talks about how American Black women are loud and obnoxious and that's why Black American women are the least to date outside their race. That's not true. Actually, African women are. Then she says if she lived in a Black neighborhood it would be complete chaos. Really? Every Black neighborhood is like that? Not even the majority of Black neighborhoods are complete chaos. Especially if we're talking about neighborhoods where people there own their homes. Go to my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee that is over 60% Black, and you will see plenty of Black neighborhoods that are not complete chaos. They may not be as fresh and new as some of the neighborhoods in the suburbs, but chaos? No. And one more thing about Black Americans losing their culture. It's just a matter of time for you, my dear. At some point down the line, your descendants are no longer going to speak your language. Hell, it might even be your kids. At some point, they won't be speaking your language or his, but they'll probably look really exotic, so when you ask them what they are, I think I'm part Ethiopian, and then I had a great-great-grandfather, I think he was from Japan, and I know I'm part white, because at some point, most races that come here get mixed with white at some point. So the very thing you're laughing at and ridiculing, that's the future for your genes. You can't come to America, mix, and then retain your culture. Alright, so that's about all I got to say. Again, I realize that this chick may have a bee in her bonnet about African Americans, maybe even justifiably so. Anybody can sit on the outside of a culture and point out all the negative things. That doesn't mean they're giving you the whole story, and it doesn't mean their motive is pure. She made that video in order to make herself look superior to not only Black American women, but Black American people, period. Black American men, don't think for 1 second that she likes you. So be careful who you put up on a pedestal. If you're going to applaud this Ethiopian woman for telling the truth, then you might as well applaud some white races too, because they'll tell the truth. Disproportionate crime rate, high number of out-of-wedlock births. They'll tell you every negative thing you've ever wanted to know about American Black people, and they'll be telling the truth. But what is their motive? It's to make Black people look bad and make themselves look superior. And they'll talk about this while omitting all the negative things that their race has done. And in that regard, this Ethiopian woman is no different than them. Oh, and I can't wait to hear how many people accuse me of being jealous of her.